We are going to get started with our topic of the night, which is NFHS, points of emphasis, POEs, uniforms, bench decorum, throw-ins. But when they first announced the points of emphasis, they didn't have end of game protocols listed, and they've added that when the rules book came out. So we're going to talk about some end of game protocols as well. Not many videos of each because, we only have an hour, and jamming in that many videos is sometimes difficult, but we'll have enough to make it worthwhile. Let's go ahead and start with throw-ins and show some. It's a point of emphasis here because I'm assuming the new throw-in rule. And the new throw-in rule is about the 4 designated spots for front court throw-ins for everything other than out of bounds. So here's the first video. Okay, what happened? Did we do that? Foul. Did we do that throw in correctly?
Is this a new rule?
No.
Yes. Yes.
No, it's
the new rule, the new throw in rule. So what happened in this play?
It should have been underneath the basket where the ref is right now. Yeah.
It looks like we have a foul, yes?
Yeah.
foul.
Okay. So we need to determine where the foul is, where's the throw-in going to be, and that will determine where the throw-in, front court, back court, and where the throw-in then will be. I'm gonna throw it.
28-foot mark.
28-foot mark there where the ref is.
So here's the foul spot, yes?
Yeah, up there where the ref is.
Okay, so normally last year and the years prior, the throw-in spot would have been right there, yes?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And that's because we know in this little trapezoid area, if you're outside, and by outside I mean further away from the basket, then it goes toward the sideline, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now that is still the case. We still need to know that since it is outside this trapezoid, we're going to be on the sideline for the throw-in. But where on the sideline will it be?
20 there where the ref is.
Where the blue shirt
trail is.
Yeah,
right where the trail is.
Okay, so normally this was the throw-in spot. But what we have to do every time we have a throw-in, and I don't mean this is done and you think about it for 10, 15 seconds. Every time we have a throw-in, we need to ask ourselves, where is this throw-in going to happen? Front court or back court? For the throw-in team, are they in their front court or are they in their back court? So where is it for this one?
Front court.
It's going to be in their front court. And what was the stoppage of play for?
a foul.
A foul. Okay, a foul thrown in the front court. So when there's a foul that stops play and it's in the front court for the throw-in, where do we put the ball?
28-foot line, right?
We're going to go to one of the 4 designated spots. And then as we showed, because it's on this side of the trapezoid, it's going to be on the sideline, which means it has to go up
To the trap.
to the 28-foot mark.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing I want to discuss just briefly. The 28-foot mark. If you're over by the coach, by the bench, there's going to be a little tick mark there because why?
That's his box.
Coach's box.
The coach's box.
Because the coach's box is 28 feet long from the end line toward the score table. Those are 28-foot marks. So we know where the coach's box is. So we're going to know exactly where that 28-foot mark is. But what if there's not a mark there?
Top of the circle. Roughly.
No.
Top of
So
that
it's past the circle
3-point,
extended.
top of the 3-point line extended is not 28 feet.
Just beyond it.
It's about
sure.
19 something, right? So you're going to go
19.9.
just beyond.
19.9. 19.9.
19.9, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go just up of it, just guess, get as close as you can. What's important is you're trying to put him in the right spot. All right. So we put him at the 28-foot mark, and then we continue our throw on. Everybody's got that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Easy enough.
What's with them requiring new throw-in rules and yet they didn't require the marker on the court? I was like, how hard is it to put a little piece of tape on the sideline?
Well, my guess would be repainting a floor, even when they're little just tick marks, is not cheap because they've got to sand that spot. They've got to take the paint off there. Then they got to put the new paint on. Then they got to wax it or epoxy it or whatever they put on there. So I think they're giving leeway. I'll bet you anything. A couple years down the line, they're going to require it. It's going to be part of the court, but I don't think they want to impose on the schools any cost at this point when we as officials, let's be honest, most of us are smart enough where we know where the general area is, and that's where we can put it.
Yeah.
That's just a guess, though. I don't know if that's really the case. But so every throw in, there's a stoppage of play. We have to know why was it stopped? Foul, violation, timeout, held ball, whatever it may be, out of bounds. Then we need to determine, is the new throw in going to be in the front court or is it going to be in the back court? And then once we determine that, we can determine whether it's a designated spot or nearest the spot of the violation, foul, or stoppage of play. Let's do the next video. What happened here?
Was it not
Ball went out of bounds.
Did we do the throw in properly?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought it went to a designated spot because it's a front court throw in.
Not out of bounds.
not out of bounds? But he needs to be a little lower, even a little lower.
Correct.
That's not the
If
spot where I
it's
went
an
out.
out of bounds violation, which it was here, right? The white player knocked it out. Official calls out of bounds off of white.
Right on the
We're going to
spot.
give it to green. And we know because, as we stated before, since it's on this side of the little trapezoid diagram, we know it's going to be on the sideline, correct?
Correct.
So do we go to a designated spot or do we go to the spot nearest the violation?
Spot
Nearest violation.
The designated spot rule applies to everything except an out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
If
Right.
it's an out of bounds, it actually is just near where the ball went out of bounds. And you're right, it should be down a little bit further, but do you think that's close enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's not be
Yeah.
that official who wants to move that kid 2 more feet to get in the exact spot, because then we look like we're over officiating when really he's close enough. There's no advantage gained by him coming up a few feet. And then we can just get the game moving quicker. We agree with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Agreed.
Honestly, it's the same thing with the 28-foot mark or the 3-foot mark. Get them close enough. We don't need to be exact. If the mark is there, it's easy to point to the mark and say right there on the mark. Okay. But if we've got to, generally get them in the right area, that's the main purpose. All right, here's another throw-in video. This game again. Okay, did we see what happened that time?
Kicking violation.
Left it out, didn't he?
Just knocked the ball out.
Looks like the ball went
Kicking.
out of bounds, but they put it where the ball went out of bounds, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Kicked it higher.
But why did it go out of
Kicked.
bounds?
Because it was kicked.
Because the ball was kicked. So the stoppage of play was not an out of bounds, correct? It was
Violation.
Defensive
Still
violation.
kicked.
a kicking violation. All right. So since we know it was stopped for a violation, now we need to determine, is the ball going to be in the front court or the back court?
Front court.
Front court.
Front court, because someone had said it's a defensive kick.
Correct.
So if it's a front court throw, and we know that it's going to go to one of the designated spots, and I'm going to go back just a little bit. And again, because we're outside this trapezoid area, we know it's going to go to the sideline, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So this crew did not do this correctly. Now, to be fair,
No.
this was not this year even. It was last year. So they did it correctly last year. But for this year, we would move that free thrower up to the 28-foot mark and continue from there.
Exactly.
All right. Easy enough, right?
Yes.
Now we say it's easy enough now, but when you get on
You
the
want to,
court, someone's going to screw it up, and it's not going to, I'll bet you anything. Excuse me. When we get out there and we mess up one of these throw-ins because we're not thinking new rule. We're thinking it's almost muscle memory, right? Right here, go, boom, quickly we get the game moving. Nobody's going to say a word. The coach won't know. The players won't know. The fans won't know. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't try and do it right. We should. But if we screw it up, it's not going to be a huge deal, at least not beginning, because everybody is adjusting just like we are.
The only time it's going to be a big deal if it's end of game situation and the ball should be on the spot, like on the end line, and you move to somewhere else or something like that, because the coaches run a play. So that's when it's
Agreed. I think that's when it could really affect the outcome of what the throw-in, what it could happen. Now again, so we want to make sure we do that then, but we still want to make sure we try and do it right all the time, even when it doesn't really affect the play.
Of course.
But that's a great point. I mean, we really need to think end of game, and we're going to show some end of game videos. End of game, we really need to be thinking, where's the throw-in go? What's going to happen? Because any little movement can really make a big difference as to how that play ends, that game.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Hey, I would say if they would slow down before they administer the throw-in, will help there also.
Slow down after you blow your whistle, and actually that's good for almost anything, but after you blow your whistle, there's no need to rush and get the game moving, right?
Correct.
Yes, we want a good flow. Yes, we don't want big pauses, but if you do slow down and actually think about it, yeah, it will, generally speaking, help you get it correctly. All right, let's move on. One more throw-in video. Oh, the sound doesn't match up. Okay, foul. Foul was called. There's a switch while they're recording, and they're putting the ball in. They're putting it at the 3-foot mark. Is that correct?
No, it should be 28. I don't know.
Oh no, the foul look out down at the bottom, right?
It was inside that, I think.
Where did the foul happen?
Right there, right?
Looks like that's where the foul is, right? So where's that trapezoid area?
Right there.
It's inside the trapezoid.
It's inside, closest to the basket. And if it's inside, where does the throw-in go?
Right down there.
Baseline.
It goes to the end line, correct. And if it's a front court throw-in, as this one is, it will go to the designated spot, which is
3 foot from the lane.
3 foot from the lane. Now, is this 3 feet from the lane line?
No.
Pretty close.
It's not.
Does it
Well,
say?
So back to your question about not to be the referee, but that referee. So a player has 3 foot kind of space for their spot, and there's no traveling really inside that. So is it from 3 feet to 6 feet out, or is it 3 feet from it, and they have 1.5 feet each side of the 3 foot mark?
Well, it would depend where you put them, right? If you put them right at the 3 foot mark, I would say it's 1.5 feet each way from that 3 foot mark.
I generally try and get them at least 3 feet out to give them the space. And, little kids like feeder stuff, I try and coach them on it, semi-coach them on them, both teams equally. Say, hey, when you grow up, you really should be outside of that 3 foot spot to give you a better angle.
I think
I don't coach a one team one way or the other, but on little kids, I kind of give them the advice on it. Say, hey, here's why I'm moving you out.
I think, again, as I said before, I'm not going to split hairs and be that guy to say, come on over here, get over here.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to move. However, I do think it's important that we try to put them as close to that 3-foot mark as we can. So especially during the first few weeks, I think, of this rule, I think I will be that guy and say, come on, move this way a little bit, 3 feet out. And that way the kids will start thinking where they need to stand as well. Because for so many years, we've been putting them right next to that lane line for all these throw-ins. So we need to retrain kind of the way players think as well. So me personally, I think I'm going to make them come over 1.5 feet just to put them in the right spot, because really that's the best place for them to be. You don't want them too close to the lane line because then the backboard's even closer, right? Which is why they put it at the 3-foot mark. You want to have them so there's plenty of space for them to make a throw. Agree or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Josh, I have a question.
Let's hear it.
So you indicated it's a designated spot, but 1.5 feet. I thought it was 3 feet each way for a total of 6.
No, they get a
No.
3-foot box that they get to stand in. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I put them right here, it's going to be 1.5 feet this way and 1.5 feet that way, 3
Okay.
feet total.
As long as they have 1 foot in the box.
Right. So, I mean, ultimately they could probably go 6 feet. They can lean all the way over out of the box. And if their foot is over, doesn't even have to be touching. If their foot is over that 3-foot box, they're legal, but they only get 3 feet. All right. How do we
Well,
feel?
and to be clear, it's not 3 feet by 3 feet. It's just 3 feet, as deep
It's
as they
3
want.
feet side to side.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
a
what are you
step.
saying? Because I said
Yeah.
box.
That might confuse some people. Just
Hey,
trying
a
to be clear.
box. I've received lots of boxes that are super long. Yes, it's 3 feet side to side. They can go back as far as they can, as the gym allows.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next point of emphasis. I want to do some end of game stuff because, in case I run out of time, that's important to me, because what they do is.
Sorry, if you could just go over the new little out of bounds, how the out of bounds violation has changed with regards to a player running out. I'm still confused on that. I haven't
Okay,
seen the exact
sure.
language.
Real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but if a player runs out of bounds on their own volition, what does that mean? That means they did it purposefully. They did it intentionally. They meant to run out of bounds and they used their own ability to do it. If they come back in, it's not a violation anymore. It used to be as soon as you leave for an unauthorized reason, then it's a violation. As soon as you leave, you were supposed to blow your whistle, and nobody was calling it. In fact, I want to say 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago, it used to be a technical foul. If you left the floor, it was a technical foul, and nobody called that. So they said, all right, you know what? We'll just change it to a violation. And some guys call it, not regularly, but some do. Most don't. And I think because it doesn't make any difference or effect to the game. And the Federation finally said, okay, right. If they can now run out purposefully to avoid a screen, they're avoiding a player. That's why they're running out of bounds. That's not fair. But if they run back in bounds and they're not the first person to touch the ball, it's okay.
Okay. Yep.
But if they
Yep.
are the first person to touch the ball, they're gaining an
Then it's
advantage
a-
by going out of bounds. That's
Right.
when we blow our whistle and we call a violation.
Violation. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Okay, so they're just really making it a little more common sense to call, and that's honestly how everyone seemed to have been calling it anyway. All right, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to end of game. This is just I'm going to just let this play, and I'm going to speak as it plays out because there's no sound or anything. They had just called a foul, and now someone's calling a timeout. All right, now don't look at the clock where it says 3:31, although it could be 3:31 near the end of the game, and it's just as important. But let's just assume this is, a minute left or 30 seconds left, and we're getting close. Okay, this is what we're talking about when it comes to end of game protocols. It is a good time during a timeout to get together as officials. In fact, anytime during the game, in my opinion, is a good time to get together as officials. Very rarely am I standing in my timeout spot because I want to talk to my officials. Hey, 32 he's getting a little rambunctious. So we want to keep our eyes on him. Or, hey, have you guys been watching their screens? They're all right along, the line. It's borderline. So now we're all just getting on the same page every chance we get when it comes to games. But at the end of the game, even more so, we need to talk. All right, 0.8 on the clock. Yep, White's only down 1. They can catch and shoot if there's a miss because there's 0.8. Okay, great. Well, we got to be ready for a possible foul, maybe on the rebound, or maybe they're going to call a timeout. Okay, great. All those little things, 10, 15 seconds, take time, and then you can go to your spots. We also probably would like to go to the table. Ask them the situation at the table. Find out the foul situation, right? How many, the timeout situation. How many timeouts do they have? Now, in this scenario right here, it says each team has 30 second left, right? Should we go tell each team that they have a 30 left?
It's a courtesy.
I would say no.
No.
I'd say no.
Nope.
I say no, because one, you're right, as a courtesy, it is not our job to tell them how many timeouts they have left. We only tell them what?
When they have none.
When they are out. We need to tell them when they are out. But it is important for us to know how many they have left, especially near the end of the game, because I said this once as a younger official and someone reamed me for it. But if I know a team is out of timeouts, I can be slow to try and grant a timeout that might be requested from somebody, because they might realize as they're requesting they're out. Maybe someone will yell up and tell them they're out. And if I'm slow to requesting because I know they're out, we could avoid a technical foul. Now, some may say, as purists, if they ask for it, they get it. Okay, that's true. Absolutely. But we do need to know at least what the timeout situation is. Okay, so I want to make sure everything matches up in the book, but I also want to make sure that the score matches with the scoreboard, because if the scorebook is correct, but it doesn't match up with the scorebook, does everybody think that everything's okay? Of course not, because everybody in that gym is looking at that scoreboard. They think what's on that scoreboard is official, even though we all know it's not. It's what's in the book. So just make sure it matches up. And if it doesn't, fix it. And if it does, great. And now you know how many fouls there are, where we are in the score. It's a 2-point game, a 1-point game. So as you get near the end and when time expires, you can know whether that game is over or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've never had a game where the crowd does not scream when a point is not given. And Josh, you forgot to mention something in the conference. Oh, darn it. I was going to ask you who the free throw shooter was.
Yeah, well, we should, and that should be any time. We need to know who our shooter is. Somebody needs to get it. And usually before the timeout, communicate to each other, hey, 11 is our shooter. He's shooting 2 shots, or he's shooting 1 or whatever, because that way, when you come back to the game, and let's be honest, we've all come back to games after timeouts, not remembering what we're supposed to do, right? Whose ball is it, ref? Oh, geez, I don't remember, because you're not paying attention, and it happens. So if you communicate it during that timeout, you're going to be more apt to remember. We're also going to be able to answer the coach's questions now when he asks how many timeouts do they have. Oh yeah, you got 1. I just checked with the book. Great. And he's going to let you know that, maybe we're going to want a timeout if we get the rebound. Okay. Just make sure you ask for it. If a coach tells you, I want a timeout if we get the rebound, or I want a timeout if they score, or whatever it may be, tell that coach, great, but you still need to ask for it. Why do we make the coach, after he just told you, I'm going to want a timeout if we make it, why do we still make him ask for it? What if the coach changes his mind? Doesn't happen very often, but if he does, and you grant the timeout, he's going to be all over you. I didn't ask for the timeout. Coach, you told me you wanted one. I know, but this, and this, right? So, coach, I would look at him and say, coach, right? And he'll look at you, and if he doesn't signal, he'll be like, wait, why didn't you give me? Just make him ask for it before you give it to him again. Okay. And if he yells at you that you didn't give it to him, you could say, coach, I told you, you have to ask for it still. I'm looking for it. I'm ready for it, but you still have to ask for it. All right. Let me show another end of game scenario. I'm not going to get on my soapbox We had our clinic on Monday, our in-person clinic, and I was on my soapbox about not blowing your whistle at the end of a quarter unless you have to. And I know you guys all know my pet peeve on that, so I'm not going to bore you, but I mean, I took a good 20 minutes. We went over that topic. All right. Let's look at this one. Now, I know it's first quarter up there. Okay. So again, don't call me out on what's up on that scoreboard. If this is the end of the game, there is 0.9 left on the clock. Okay. Now we'll just assume no timeout was called. We're going to assume that the officials didn't have time to talk to each other, but we probably should still all know what scenario we're in, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we look at the scoreboard. We're going to say it's fourth quarter, 0.9. The visiting team who's going to get the ball is down by 3. Right? So what do they need to do?
You catch and shoot.
Catch and shoot. But what do they need? This is the fourth quarter. They want to win this game. What do they have to do? They have to score. They have to score a 3-pointer, right?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to be ready for a 3-pointer and probably on somewhat of a baseball pass, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how do we like the officials' positioning right now?
Can't see where the trail is.
4.
Well, we'll assume that the new lead is down where he's supposed to be. And all of the players, 2, 4, 6, 8, I see at least 9 players
in the backcourt.
In the backcourt. But what we've just said was they're probably going to huck the ball to get a 3-point shot. Yes?
Yes.
Here's the play. What do you guys think? I'm going to play it fast again. Was that a foul or not a foul?
It's at the end ball.
Yes.
Hey Josh, sorry to interrupt. This exact play happened to me in a game. And so I just want to ask you your opinion of it. I was the lead. I was the new lead. And as I'm getting in position, I probably was at the 28 foot mark, and that baseball pass came. I'm running past it. I spot the 3 because I'm checking feet. And then I keep going because all of that traffic is coming my way to get in position on that baseline. And apparently that shooter did not come down clean. And it was a foul that was missed that was not called by the trail or the C. And, we discussed that after the game, and I felt like my partners let me down. Now, when you mark a 3, do you stay there on it, or do you continue to your position? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, that's a good question. If you're going to signal a 3-point attempt, is that what you mean by mark it?
Yes, sir. I signaled it because their feet were right next to the line.
Okay, so if you're going to signal that, I'm going to stay with the shooter because I'm the one who saw that shot go up. So I'm going to be responsible for that shooter.
Okay, I was just trying to help out whoever was behind me, but I get you.
And every situation may be different. That may not fit in all scenarios, but I would say in a scenario like this, it would, because there's no other players beyond there, correct? So you don't need to rush down to that end line to make sure you're in position to officiate nobody. You need to officiate the play that you saw.
Yeah, I just there was probably 2 or 3 seconds versus just 0.8. And so my thought was get down there, because if it is like a tip or something like that, you want to, catch any action under there. But you're right. I should have just stayed with it and kind of let it play out.
Okay, so this play specifically, we could have, now I'm going to say this first of all. It's hard to tell whether there was a foul or not, but it's at least close enough to say there could have been a foul. And how could we make sure if we know that there was a foul or not? Because I don't believe the positioning of these officials is very good in relation to what's going to happen. What is going to happen? The center really should move downward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I
if
thought it would
he
be
is
at the half
down,
court mark.
if he's down right here,
He could see it.
waiting for this baseball play to happen, even if it doesn't happen and it stays where all the bulk of those players were, he can still see those players relatively well to help out with a foul, right? The new trail is going to be able to see that as well. But to really anticipate what's going to happen on this play, the center needs to be down where the play is probably going to happen. And if the center was there, he probably would have had a better look, at least a closer look, to see if that was a foul or not. Now, the new lead, looks like he was around free throw line extended, maybe when it started, maybe not quite, a little bit below. He probably could have stayed right there off to the sideline because, again, there's only 0.9 left. Does he need to get to the end line with 0.9 left?
No.
No, he needs to stay by the players to help officiate those players. So he would have had a good look too if he had stayed where he was. Now, again, I'm not saying there was a foul there. Maybe there wasn't. And all the officials said there wasn't there either, but they could have been in a much better position in order to officiate that play. And knowing end of game, and in this one, maybe just end of quarter, this is probably what's going to happen. Let's get into a position to anticipate what's probably going to happen. I think you're going to be in a better off position more often than you aren't.
And that pre-play conversation would have been helpful there, to your point from earlier.
Yeah, and if you had a timeout, and usually at the end of the game, when they're down by 3 and there's 0.9, there probably would have been some kind of a timeout, right? Because the coach wants to set up a play. We need to all talk as officials and say, okay, guys, 0.9, they're going to probably want to huck it down. And this team is up by 3, so they're going to try not to foul. I don't think they're going to foul on purpose. So let's make sure that we get a good one, or let's make sure that the shooter is, clean. He's got to catch and shoot it relatively fast. All those things. So you're ready and you're prepared. It's all about mindset for end of game. All right. I want to move on to just a little bit of, we did some coaches already. Let me do this real quick. 1 or 2. Doesn't take a ton on uniforms, because uniforms is a point of emphasis. And as much as we hate uniforms, at least I hate uniforms, or I shouldn't say you hate uniforms, having to worry about uniforms.
Right.
We need to be aware of the rule, especially for those of us that are trying to move up in the postseason, because you want to be known as a guy or a girl who officiates to the rules. If you're going to let things go and then they get to the state tournament, and they say, we don't want people to look, wearing illegal stuff. And they say they've been doing it all season. Well, you let it go. Well, you're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this, and I'll say this as well first. Don't worry about it. Used to be, I don't want the coach to get mad. He yells and screams. That's a stupid rule. And why do you guys have to enforce that? But it's been around for so long now, these rules of these sleeves and whatnot. These coaches don't even bat an eye. In fact, most of them say, I told him, hey, 14's wearing an illegal sleeve. I told him to get rid of that stupid thing. It's the wrong color. We know. You go tell him. And so they know that it's coming, and they're there to support us. So don't be afraid to enforce it, is my point. Now, let's watch this clip. It's an old clip, but I've updated it for the new rule. We're not going to worry about the play or what happened or didn't happen. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the players and their uniforms and their apparel. Does anybody see, before I start pointing stuff out, anything illegal or worth mentioning?
I would say like the color of their numbers.
The color of whose numbers?
Gray's numbers, Josh.
Gray, that shade of gray might be illegal too.
Is Gray even wearing numbers?
It's hard to see.
It doesn't look like it. It's so hard to see.
Okay,
the guy in the lane is wearing number 10. That's all I can see.
Yep. Now, I will say this, and you're right, Shelby. The numbers on these players are not illegal. Next year, all right, I don't want to do that one yet. I think I mentioned it later in the video. Next year, they are illegal. Do you remember about 4 or 5 years ago, they put in the rule saying you need to have numbers that contrast with the I'm paraphrasing, I guess, that contrast with the color of the jersey. And that's going to happen in 24-25 season. Do these numbers contrast with the jersey?
No.
No, they have a border around them and it's hard to see, but this is the reason the rule is around, because that number is so hard to see for people watching on video and stuff on TV or streaming. You can't see it. I'm sure those officials on the floor all could see it just fine, but that's not the point. They want to, get the experience for everybody. So next year, those numbers will be illegal, but they're not illegal yet. All right. That's a good pickup. Anything else?
Number 4 has a white headband. 0 has black sleeves.
Correct. 0 is wearing 2 black arm sleeves. 23 is wearing a white leg sleeve. And number 4 is wearing a white headband. Those are all appropriate colors, aren't they? They're all legal colors.
They have to be uniform.
Be the same though.
Correct. But if you're going to wear anything on your arm or your leg, it is considered a sleeve. And you can pick between what colors? Black, white, beige.
Predominant color.
And the predominant color of the jersey that's being worn.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be both.
Not a school color, predominant color of the jersey that's being worn. Okay. But if you pick white, they all have to be white. If you pick black, they all have to be black, right? They all have to be the same color. And the headband and wristband rule is separate from the sleeves, but the headband and wristband rules say they all need to match with the sleeves that are picked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So any apparel that is worn all needs to be the same color.
Oh, they have to match with the sleeve color? Because I thought the other night we said that the sleeves could be any color and I'm thinking shirt sleeves, not arm sleeves. Never mind.
So the sleeves, a leg sleeve or an
comment.
arm sleeve or a headband or a wristband. Now, should we be assessing some technical fouls here? If we're just noticing this now, we just found out and saw, wait a second, these aren't legal. Do we have some technical fouls we got to shoot?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd also be wondering what you're doing for 15 minutes all pregame.
Right. Yeah. Aren't you supposed to address that pregame?
Is there a technical foul for wearing illegal apparel?
No.
There is not.
Illegal
They
equipment.
just can't play.
They cannot play while they are wearing illegal equipment or apparel. So if you discover this just right now, you're going to direct them to leave the game.
That's on the test, by the way.
You're going to go to the coach and say, Coach, and hopefully to all your points, you're going to get this at the beginning. You're going to get this at the beginning of the game. Even if they're wearing warm-ups, when you go to do the jump ball and then you see all the sleeves, you go to the coach and say, Coach, we've got a bunch of different colors here. They got to pick one. And if they don't want to take it off, that's fine, but they're not going to play.
So if you notice it like at the jump ball and they're one of the starters and they can't go, then isn't it an illegal substitution because somebody else had to come in other than the designated starters, and it's not due to injury or illness?
You're gonna let the coach know that it'll be a technical foul if they refuse to change it and sit on the bench, and I bet you he makes it happen.
Okay, thank you.
Josh, quick
What if-
question for you. I'm sorry.
Or number 4 doesn't want to take off his white headband and he just says, I'm not going to play. Coach, number 4 he just got sick, didn't he? Is he feeling ill?
Or what if he says it's a hair controlling device?
I was going to say, or it's like, that's a hair controlling device.
It's not a hair control device because a hair control device is defined as something that just goes around the hair.
Right.
They're all going to try that. I had a coach once tell me, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was the player, but oh no, my doctor, I just sprained my elbow and my doctor said I have to wear this. It's medical. And I said, well, okay, I get that. Then you need to tell everybody else to take theirs off because there's no provision for medical wear of a sleeve.
Nope.
So don't let them pull that on you and say it's medical. Oh, it's medical. I'll let you wear it. No, I'm sorry. That's fine. If you need it for medical, then you need to tell everyone else, hey, I need it for medical. You all have to take yours off. And it's happened to me every time the kid takes it off because it's not medical.
You tell those 5th grade girls, take that sleeve.
All right. So let's move on. We talked about this is about the uniforms. Now, The uniforms need to be contrasting with the white uniforms. Did we know that?
Mm-hmm.
Do these uniforms look like they are contrasting?
Nope.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I didn't
Aren't
put
they
on-
supposed to have? I'm sorry, Josh, to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you. Aren't they supposed to have gray shirts with the gray?
We'll talk about that in just a second.
They use gray. It's got to meet the 70%
The
criteria for gray.
70% criteria, very good. And it's
got it,
in the
got it.
rules book, but you can go online and you can check it out and say, okay. And now we as officials have to determine whether it's 70%. But to me, these uniforms are not 70% darker than white. Okay. So what if at the beginning of the game you say, Coach, these aren't dark enough jerseys? Is game over? We don't get to play because they didn't bring any other jersey with them.
Well, it's a technical foul for an illegal uniform, direct to the head coach.
They've got 15
one-
players,
only
15 players all
one-
wearing illegal uniforms.
Only one is
One
charged
technical foul.
regardless.
That's a good one because my son plays on Palatine. They've had gray uniforms for several years now.
All right,
and
Tom,
they aren't dark gray. So that's a good question.
yeah, they need to be dark enough. Now, again, you play the game, you can start with technical foul. Obviously, little kids, we're not going to do that. But at the high school level, especially at the varsity level, they need to be 70%. And Tom said they're 68.3. If they're 68.3, I'm going to allow it. Okay. But
You don't carry one of those gauges that they make? They
Yeah,
actually
no,
have a
I do-
uniform
I do
gauge
not.
Is
that
that like
shows
one of
what's
the police window tinting gauges where you testing it against it?
I
or a
do
color
not.
wheel?
And if you think they're close enough, then they're close enough. But at the very least, mention to the coach, those are not dark enough. Okay. Now, someone talked about the undershirt. Shouldn't the undershirt be gray? Because the jersey is gray.
Not this year. They could be black.
It could be black or yeah.
That's right. So a black undershirt can be worn this year if they all wear black, or I'm sorry, if one wears black, they all have to wear black, correct? I'm sorry. I need to be careful with what I say. If they choose to wear an undershirt, then it has to be the same color. They don't all have to wear an undershirt. You could have just one wearing an undershirt. Right?
But now that's visiting team only.
Correct. Visiting team only. White. The home team still has to wear white. If they wear an undershirt, it has to be white.
Correct. Correct.
What if, and I don't have this on the video, and I've had this video up long enough. What if you have one player wearing a short sleeve shirt and one player wearing a long sleeve shirt? They're both the same color and they're both legally the same color. Do they have to match those up?
No.
No, they can
just-
wear different
Can they wear
sleeves.
different sleeve lengths?
Not the
They
same
can all
player.
be different sleeve lengths. I cannot have one short
Yeah.
and one long. My sleeve lengths need to match,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have to match with my teammate. And that's, I think, because of some religions, they need more body coverage than others, and they don't want to inhibit those that need that. Make sure that they are properly hemmed and there's not ragged edges, like they didn't just cut it and they're ragged. They cannot be ragged. All right, all
Now,
those little things.
One thing to go with that too, make sure that if you've got people wearing pants or shorts, that's all legal this year.
Well, that was actually always legal. They just clarified that they are allowing it. And everyone, you could have one player wearing pants, one player wearing a skirt, one player wearing shorts. They don't have to match in styles. They just need to match in color. And so you all know, if I'm wearing a blue jersey, home team blue jersey, visiting team blue jersey, I can wear white pants. I can wear red pants. They don't have a color restriction on pants, which is so stupid in my opinion, but they have to all be the same. So I can't have red pants and my teammate has blue pants and my other teammate has white. They all have to be the same color of teammates, but they don't have to match the color of the jersey.
Hey, Josh, what about kinesiology tape? I'm seeing a lot of that. And obviously there's not much about it, but you see kids wearing all kinds of different colors.
That's any kind of tape or any kind of wrap. Doesn't necessarily have to be tape, but any athletic wrap can be any color. There's no color restriction on wrap. As long as you see that it's tape or wrap, it's fine. All right. Let me do.
Unless they're using the pre-wrap as a headband like the girls do, then it's got to match, correct?
That's a great question. I suppose if they're using the pre-wrap as a headband, right? Then yes, it is a headband. Oh, I'm using pre-wrap. Yes, but you're using it as a headband. It has to follow the color restriction. No, but it's a hair control device. No, a hair control device is just the hair, right? And it goes around. So yes, that's a great point. And you're going to have girls primarily that are going to try and get away with that. Don't let them.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Hey, what about the undergarment, like the white tights or the compression shorts? You might have some that may be a psychedelic color.
So
like all kinds of colors.
Yeah, that's actually another great question, because compression shorts follow the same color restrictions as sleeves. Okay. Or compression pants. Anything that's worn on the legs or the arms is considered a sleeve. So if they're compression shorts, it's a sleeve for color purposes. Some of them, as we've seen, have been camo or tie-dye or psychedelic, right? And I try not to split two hairs on it. If it's coming out of those shorts enough where I can see them, I tell the kid they either have to come off or yank them up. Yank them up so they're under your shorts, and they're going to constantly come down, and I'm going to constantly tell them, yank them up. Does that help? I don't like being uniform police. I'm sure most of you don't, but we do have to make a reasonable attempt to try and make it up. And if it's just sticking out a little bit, I'm probably going to say nothing. There's been a lot of games where I've said to my partners, what do you guys think about that? It's not really sticking out. I mean, should we, shouldn't we? Most people are saying, look, it's not way out. And I think the biggest proponent of that is it distracting? And if it's just a little bit, it's probably not distracting. I usually go over and I'm like, just, can you yank it up so it's under your shorts? And most kids do, but they obviously always come down.
You know, Josh, I just really feel they wear it to be seen. So it's, you know, they're kind of openly kind of saying, this is, you know, I'm trying to be fashion out here. And that's why I have no sympathy for it.
Yeah. And if you don't, you're completely in your right. Those compression shorts need to meet the color restrictions. So you could say, coach, that's fine. You want to wear those, but then he's not going to come into the game.
Now, the problem we have is because they're letting them roll up their shorts. It just makes it more obvious, you know.
All right.
Hey, Josh, can I get a question in there?
Sure.
Didn't one of those gray players have two different length sleeves, arm sleeves?
Arm sleeves do not have to be the same length. You could have one that's just like the forearm and one that's the full arm. That's an arm sleeve. But if it's a sleeve from the undershirt, those need to be the same.
Okay. So if they come up, yeah, that does. So if they come out for the jump ball and they have illegal uniform, does the coach get to sub them, or is that a technical to start the game?
The coach doesn't get to sub them. You sub them. You pull them out of the game and say, until you fix this, you don't come back. And don't, I mean, if they can rip it off and throw it off, I might let them just stay, but have them come out of the game. No, you're coming out. And then the next opportunity for you to come in, you can come back in. I say shame on us, and we all miss them, but shame on us. We should get that at the beginning of the game so we can avoid it in the third quarter, fourth quarter, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Josh, can you go over the tucking of the other shorts underneath the compression shorts?
Yeah. The rolling of the waistband.
The waistband, and also the tucking of the shorts, period, underneath the compression shorts.
Is that a thing?
It is.
That's what the girls are doing now. They're,
all right.
they're tucking their jersey shorts into their compression shorts.
To my understanding, they're not allowed to tuck them into the compression shorts.
No, they're supposed to wear
because that is not the way that the shorts are. What is the wording? Supposed to be worn, or that's the way the manufacturer is.
Purpose. Their intended purpose to be worn, or something like that.
Yeah. So if you see them tucked in, ask them to untuck them. I didn't know that was a thing.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It has been with college women for several years, and it's cascading on down to like girls basketball and stuff like that.
And that's where a lot of this. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. You know, the rolling of the waistband, which is legal. It wasn't legal for a while, and they wanted us to address it because they were all seeing at the college level. And why? because the long shorts is not cool anymore. They want to go back to the Larry Bird, Michael Jordan 80s days where they were all short. I don't know. It's funny how everything kind of cyclical comes around, but all right, let's do one more video and then we'll have to call it a day. Now, for those of you who are not from around here, this is a college floor because it is a super sectional game. In Illinois, a super sectional is the last game right before the state tournament. Okay, so this is well into postseason. These teams are both good. All right. I'm going to play it and then we'll discuss it.
The Broncos, number 15, Isaiah Gray.
What do you think I'm going to say? Anybody?
Shirt tails.
His shirt is untucked.
Yeah.
Now, again, I know nobody likes to be that guy, but we need to make sure those players tuck their shirts in. If it comes out during a play, and I'm just going to say this game, it came out during this play. That's fine. It came out. Okay. We got a foul here. No problem. Foul. We're getting ready to throw it in. Why are we going to allow this player with an untucked shirt? We've got a dead ball. We're not doing anything. He's right here near the thrower. All you got to do is say, number 2, tuck in that shirt.
I had that happen tonight in a junior high game, and we had dead ball. I said, Coach, tell 22 to tuck his shirt in, or he can sit the bench and get it right.
What did the coach say?
Hey, 22, tuck your shirt in.
And most coaches they'll back you up on that. They may think it's stupid too. I don't know. But if you say tuck your shirt in, and I usually just do this, like motion. Sometimes I'll blow my whistle because I see an untucked shirt on the other end of the court. So I'll blow my whistle to get my partner's attention, and I'll go like this, number 4 shirt. And my partner will say, hey, tuck your shirt in. We can communicate that way, but we've got to make them tuck it in. Don't ignore it. It's stupid. I agree. Who cares? But we are all being evaluated on this kind of stuff. Make them tuck it in. And if we all do it, then they're going to just continue to do it. We won't need to tell them. And some of those kids, I don't know if you've seen some of those kids, they tuck it in, barely tuck it in.
Mm-hmm.
And if I watch them, I'll say, tuck it in all the way around. Put it on, and I'll stand there and I'll wait. And now everyone's waiting. Yep. This kid isn't going to do what he's doing. Jack, you got a question.
I actually had a varsity girl removed from the game after warning her twice to tuck her shirt in, and she didn't. I removed her from the game, put her on the bench, and then coach kept her out for a whole quarter.
And
we've had that debate with my son that's a senior, that he doesn't like his shirt tucked in, so he intentionally gets jerseys that are too short that it can barely be tucked in. So I'm going to have to deliver him the news that the emphasis is coming, that he's going to have to pick a right size jersey.
Well, and I've had that argument before where the kids, and you look at them and you say, they're like, it's just too short. Like, I see that. I get it. I totally get it. Every time there's a stoppage of play, try and tuck your shirt in. I'm not going to be a jerk. I don't want to pull them out. If you ask them 15 times and they're not doing it, then I'll pull them out. But I'm going to just try and put it in, tuck it in. Number 4, tuck it in. And usually by the 4th time, I'm getting annoyed if I got to tell the same player to tuck their shirt in. And that's when I'll say, if you can't keep your shirt tucked in, I'm going to take you out of the game. Everybody else on this floor, their shirt is tucked in. So take care of it. And usually when you get a little more of a consequence, they take a little bit effort, but to your point, some of those shirts are pretty short, and I didn't know they did that on purpose.
Yeah, my son just hates wearing his jersey tucked in. He'd rather play.
All right, so we only touched. We didn't touch on any. What's the other one I missed? Bench
decorum. You skipped the best one.
But that probably is the best one. But what do you guys think? Was it helpful? We did a lot of talking about uniforms. I didn't realize I was going to get that much discussion, but These are all things that the Federation, again, the little things where we think are stupid, ultimately spills into the bigger picture of the game. And when the kids do those little things right, the big things aren't as big of a problem. Next month, don't forget, next month, December 14, the second Thursday of the month, December 14, we are going to be talking about what to watch, as in primary coverage areas. So we're going to talk all about primary coverage areas. I might throw in some two-person in there as well, since some of you all work a lot of two-person, but that's what we're going to talk about. And then probably, positioning and whatnot. But we should be starting the season at that point. So it's a good way to kind of just reevaluate where we are and how we're supposed to be watching the game. And that's going to be the plan on that. So come back next month, and that's what we will talk about. If you have anything else that happens to pop up, by all means, as always, you can email me or text me or put it on the band app, and we will work through it. But have a great season, guys.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Good job.
Thanks.